The movie opens in a park near a rehab facility, where two brothers, Maxim and Peter, are embracing each other fondly. Peter used to be a heavy pill user, and after a long time in rehab, he has finally quit for good. As Peter waits on the bench, tying his shoelace, Maxim has a word with the doctor who gives the green light to take Peter home. Maxim drives Peter back when Peter talks about how much he misses his mother. The two brothers make a stop to buy flowers and head to a cemetery. There, Peter spends some time in front of a grave, while Maxim watches over him. On their way back from the cemetery, Maxim and Peter goof around for a while, like little brothers playing together. Peter shares how excited he is to work on the new boat they have purchased. We can clearly see that the brothers have a great relationship. Maxim makes a stop to pick up his girlfriend Pauline, who is waiting with luggage and a dog. Maxim asks why is Pauline so dressed up, to which Pauline excitedly answers that she is dressed up for a vacation. Peter gets out of the car to help Pauline with her bags when she embraces him, as she's happy to meet Maxim's family. Peter, who is surprised by her hug, tells Pauline that it has been a long time since he has touched a female. This makes the situation awkward. Maxim asks Peter to sit in the back. According to Peter, Pauline looks very much like his mother. Maxim once again asks Pauline if she wants to join them, and that it is still not too late. To this, Pauline smiles and says she wants to go. On the road, Pauline inquires why Maxim was late to pick her up. Maxim tells Pauline about their little stop at the cemetery. Here, Maxim shares that he and Peter are half-brothers. They share the same father, but have different mothers. Maxim's mother is alive, while Peter's mother has been deceased for quite some time. We can see that Peter is a bit shy and uncomfortable with Pauline around him. The three drive through the highway and soon enter a dirt road. The road is covered by forests on both sides. The three drive past fields and ruins that look ages old. Soon, the three get lost. They make a stop to ask for directions from an old man, who seems to be very curious about their business. Maxim asks for the direction towards Blackwater, where they have their boat waiting. The old man makes a strange face and asks them many questions. This irritates Maxim, who starts showing the boat purchase papers to prove that they are not any random strange people trying to look for trouble. Finally, the old man directs them to the lake. Maxim and Pauline invite the man to see them fix the boat, but the man rejects the offer. The old man kindly informs them that their village is on the outskirts of the countryside, so there is no phone signal. There are also only 20 people living in the village, so people are also a rare sight. The three thank the old man for his help and drive on their way. Soon, the three reach the lake, where there is a very old and rusted carrier ship. Pauline is definitely unhappy at the decaying water transport, but Maxim and Peter are excited beyond words. They assure Pauline that the boat will be restored to its former glory. Maxim asks Pauline to clean as much as she can, while he checks for wiring. Peter, who has been acting weird since getting on the boat, takes a hammer and tries to look for corrosion by tapping around the entire boat. Pauline notices Peter's weird expression and asks Maxim if he knows why Peter is acting this way. Maxim says that Peter's mother used to lock him up, so he is very claustrophobic. Pauline heads to the car to help Peter with carrying the bag. However, she sees Peter acting weird once again as he stares at something. Pauline asks if he is alright, to which Peter says he thought he saw something. Peter takes a hammer and starts tapping around the boat, looking for hollow sounds which would indicate corrosion. As he taps on one specific area, Peter realizes that someone or something taps back at him from the inside. Turns out it is Pauline who is trying to scare Peter for fun. She gets caught in action by Maxim, who tells her not to scare Peter like that. Maxim is not happy with how Pauline is cleaning, as she left a few spots uncleaned. As he asks Pauline to clean it again, Pauline makes a whining face. Maxim reminds her that he already told Pauline it wouldn't be a fancy vacation. Pauline assures him that she's okay and starts cleaning with a rag. Maxim then shows her a machine that she could have used to clean all along. Pauline becomes upset and asks Maxim why she had to use a rag when they had a machine. To this, Maxim says that he wanted Pauline to be trained using rags, as it is the basics of cleaning. Pauline walks away, saying that she needs a minute for herself. After some hesitation, Peter agrees to help Pauline swim. During this time, Peter talks about how Maxim always tries to make everything perfect, and so he becomes demanding to others, including himself. At their grandfather's wake, when Maxim was still small, he walked up to the lifeless body and kissed their grandfather's forehead, despite being terrified of his face. With this, Pauline feels a little calmer, as she starts to understand Maxim a bit more. Peter starts to teach swimming and soon Pauline catches up. Peter lets go and Pauline starts swimming on her own, when suddenly, Peter sees a human-like figure in the distance. He gets so focused on figuring out who it is that he doesn't notice Pauline drowning. It's only when a female voice shouts that she is drowning that Peter comes to his senses and pulls Pauline out of the water. Turns out it is a local girl, Julia, who is excited to see people from the city. The local girl is fascinated with Pauline and praises her beauty. The local girl asks Peter and Pauline if they're going to sleep in the boat for the night. Pauline says they have to sleep in the boat because there is nowhere else for them to sleep. The local girl is surprised, and she asks if they are not scared to stay in the boat. Peter is curious at her attitude. Julia tells them that the boat had a fire accident, and there were people who didn't survive the unfortunate accident. As it's getting dark, Julia bids them farewell and returns home. Back in the boat, Peter is resting in his room when he overhears Pauline and Maxim talking about the fire story. Maxim thinks the story is just a made-up thing. One thing leads to another, and the two start talking about intimate things. This makes Peter uncomfortable, so he heads out in a small boat and decides to sleep in the middle of the lake for the night. The next morning, Peter finds himself in a weird location, and it is not something he recognizes. Meanwhile, in the boat, Maxim is working, and feels irritated when Pollen interrupts him. As Maxim examines one of the rooms, he realizes that there might have been a fire accident, as the wood looks burnt. Peter, who seems to have been drifting away, starts heading back to the boat. He finds Maxim connecting the circuits. Peter asks Maxim who was knocking on the boat. It's a strange situation, because Maxim thought it was Peter knocking and checking for corrosion. As they carefully walk around the boat, they find Pollen playing with a doll cat. As they continue to search for the source of the sound, they find it to be a metal object striking the boat due to the waves. Maxim and Peter decide to tie the boy elsewhere, so it does not keep rubbing the boat. With the mystery solved, Maxim takes time to taunt Pollen for acting childish. This makes Pollen irritated, and she asks Maxim if he tries to tame all of his girlfriends like this. Maxim says he only tries with those who have potential, and leaves with a sour face. Pollen feels bad, so she gets him some snacks and tries to make up for the fight. However, Maxim is in a bad mood because things are not going exactly how he planned. The main circuit board seems to be completely burned off. Pollen tries to say some romantic words, but Maxim rejects them, making her sad. Before long, night falls and Maxim still hasn't been able to fix the electricity. He heads out and finds Pollen sitting wrapped in a blanket. Pollen asks Maxim why he doesn't love her. To this, Maxim says that he just wants her to be self-sufficient, he doesn't hate her. These words are not enough to boost Pollen's mood. Suddenly they can hear some laughs and giggles. Turns out there is a boat wedding happening very close to their boat. Pollen suggests that they should join and have fun too, but Maxim asks who invited them to the wedding. Pollen still insists on joining the wedding, which makes Maxim mad. Pollen leaves, saying she hopes the brothers have a good time together. Ethan, Maxim, and Peter are on the shore when they talk about how Peter can see demon-like figures. Maxim kids around, saying he can also see them, when suddenly they are interrupted by the old man from earlier. The old man requests to join them by the fire and warm himself. He notices that Peter and Maxim are fishing for crawfish. The old man warns the brothers away from fishing and eating crawfish from this lake. Turns out this lake attracts a lot of bodies, and crawfish love them. The brothers become curious as to why there would be a lot of bodies. The man explains that when the administration was building the reservoir, 3 villages were submerged underwater and they brought all the bodies there. In the summer, when the water washes away the silt, the crawfish feast on the corpses and the pike eat the crawfish. No one in this village eats the pike or the crawfish. According to the old man, the villagers stay away from the lake. Outsiders come to the lake, have a party, and leave. The villagers are not interested in knowing these outsiders, and those outside never invite them either. When Peter indicates a few shadows by the horizon who seem to be watching them, the old man says that they are guarding peace, not enjoying the show of the wedding. When the brothers ask what the men are guarding, and indicate they know about the lost children, the old man is surprised. Maxim asks the old man politely to let them know how the fire happened. The old man explains that it was a tragic event. Natalia, Julia's mother, was working as a teacher. One day, her students ran out and came here on the boat. They were playing there, and perhaps by accident, they started a fire to roast potatoes or smoke cigarettes. All of them perished in the fire. Maxim adds that he inspected the fire and thinks that no one tried to get out of the room. The old man tries to match the puzzle by saying maybe they didn't have time, or the door was jammed. But from Maxim's inspection, the door was not burned, and the soot pattern shows that the door might have been wide open, as only the edge was burned. The fire accident doesn't seem like an accident, but a cover-up, because when Maxim was trying to fix the circuit board, he found a nail pinned in the board that wasn't burned. This meant that someone put the pin on the board after the fire. Peter asks what happened to Natalia after the fire. According to the old man, she was sent to jail for neglect. She served her sentence, and after her release, she was gravely hurt by the parents of the victims. Eventually, Natalia lost her mind, and with the passing of time, the tragic event was forgotten. The next day, both Peter and Maxim are worried about Pollen, who did not return home from the wedding party. They decide to take a look at the boat themselves. When they arrive at the wedding boat, things don't look normal. The whole boat is empty, but it feels like the people left in a hurry or just vanished. The food is still on the table and the clothes are still in the rooms. While they are looking around, Maxim finds Pollen's happiness bracelet on the floor. Peter also discovers the writing, "I love you, Pollen," on the wall. Seeing this, Maxim thinks that Pollen cheated on him that night with someone else. Under the bed, Peter finds a big crate of explosives. Now, after checking the wedding boat, Peter and Maxim try to look around the village for Pollen. Maxim says he is tired of Pollen's constant whining. Despite the tough act, Maxim is surely worried for his girlfriend. Soon, they arrive at Julia's house and find 2 unfriendly-looking men chopping. They claim they haven't seen Pollen. Maxim decides to buy some meat to investigate without looking suspicious. They go inside the house to buy the pork from Natalia, but she rejects them bluntly, saying the meat is not for eating. Peter then directly asks if Natalia has seen Pollen. To this, Natalia asks if Peter loves Pollen, because lovers will return eventually. Peter clarifies that Pollen is Maxim's girlfriend. Then Natalia looks straight in Peter's eyes and says that it's a shame she is the girlfriend of the one who feels nothing. This implies that Maxim doesn't love Polin, but Peter does. Natalia doesn't agree to selling pork, but she agrees to give them some food. Upon looking at the family pictures, Maxim realizes that there was a factory there before it closed due to accidents. Later, the brothers visit the old man in the cemetery. The old man advises that the brothers leave as soon as they can. Peter asks where the whole wedding group disappeared overnight. The old man insists that the water is cursed. He also says that the girl will return, but it may take some time. The next day arrives, and Peter is rowing around the lake. He sees the two men from Julia's house throwing the meat in the water. He rows away and finds a few children playing by the shore. He chases the kids into some tall grass, where he finds Polin. Peter asks Polin if she has seen the children, but Polin says there are no children. Peter brings Polin back to the boat as the brothers ask Polin where she has been. She starts acting weird and completely cold towards Maxim. She even insults his work when Maxim says he fixed the wiring of the circuit board. Turns out, Polin is also the name of the bride. That's why the writing was on the wall. Polin goes to tan near the shore, but she is visited by Julia. As the two girls chat, Polin puts on some makeup for her. Julia has two different eye colors, which fascinates Polin. Suddenly, Julia's mother comes and pulls Julia away from Polin. She calls Polin an evil witch and tells her to stay away from her daughter. Polin returns to the boat in her swimsuit, which attracts Maxim's attention. He follows her, and they make love. However, Polin doesn't seem to be in love with Maxim anymore. She is detached throughout the event. She then informs Maxim that she is having Julia over for dinner. At night, all of them have a drinking party except Peter. After chatting for a bit, Polin invites Peter for a slow dance, and Maxim takes this opportunity to talk to Julia about the fire accident. Julia tells Maxim that the captain of the boat was a drunk crazy man who would chase them away whenever they were near. The kids would play hide and seek, and the old man was the one who would play with them. Turns out, the old man used to work in the factory as well. The factory used to produce some kind of chemical. The conversation is cut short when they hear noise from the ship. Peter thinks there is an intruder. After careful inspection, they find a dog. However, soon, Julia is taken away by her family. They also want the boys to leave the next morning, or threaten that they will regret it. Peter can't seem to sleep at night. He takes a dive and swims for some time. Suddenly, he finds Polin swimming as well, which is strange, as Polin can't swim. The girl swims to Peter and, after a kiss, vanishes. Peter rushes inside and finds Polin lying in Maxim's arms, completely dry. The next day, Maxim collects some water samples. He realizes that the old man is lying to them. Maxim and Polin are talking when they notice the villagers walking their way with weapons. All three use a pole to push their boat away from the shore. The villagers keep searching for Julia, and Maxim promises that Julia is not there. Soon, the villagers throw stones at the boat, which injures Peter. As they take shelter, the villagers throw oil and then throw fireballs to... The fire spreads to the entire room. Polin tries to extinguish the flames with their pressure machine. In the process, Polin injures her leg. The police arrive and want to talk with the elder of the village. Turns out, Julia went to the police and exposed her uncle for taking her. Maxim is angry at the locals and wants them to be arrested, but the police don't want to arrest the entire village. Peter sits with Natalia, who has learned of the deeds done to her daughter. Maxim asks the police chief about the investigation of the fire accident. Turns out, the police chief was the one in charge of the investigation. It was a rare incident, and even the prosecutors wanted the case. However, the evidence wasn't enough to point at someone, and the case slowly went cold. The three want to return, but their car has been wrecked by the villagers. This starts an argument among the brothers. Peter wants to finish the boat, while Maxim wants to walk to the city and grab a ride. Polin decides to stay with Peter, as she can't walk too far with her injured foot. Maxim hugs and says farewell to his girlfriend. While walking back, he meets the old man, but doesn't stop for a conversation. Not after how the locals almost burned them. The old man lends his bicycle, but on his way, he accuses the old man of playing a part in the fire accident. This makes the old man furious. Back in the city, Maxim brings the water sample he brought with him to a lab for analysis. It would take a few hours, so Maxim decides to take a shower and have some good food in the meantime. It is night, and Polin finds Peter still working on the engine. As she starts talking with Peter, she notices the car battery. Turns out, Peter vandalized their car himself, because Maxim promised to fix the boat and live there together with Peter. Polin realizes what actually happened and leaves. Strangely, Polin locks Peter in the engine chamber. Peter asks Polin to let him out, but she doesn't. Suddenly, Polin acts as Peter's mother and tells him that he has misbehaved. Peter asks for forgiveness and begs Polin to let him out. Polin, who acts like Peter's mother, asks Peter to swim to her as she is waiting. While all this is happening, the real Polin is sleeping in her room. Maxim is in a hotel and soon gets a call from the lab. The water he left for analysis is found to be toxic and has hallucinogenic properties. According to the lab scientist, the water affects the nervous system. Back on the boat, Peter talks to Polin in the room. When Polin touches Peter, he gets mad, calling Polin a witch who returned. Peter starts hitting Polin and throws her in the water, asking her to swim. However, all this time, it was the real Polin, and she drowns because she can't swim. The next morning, Peter puts on clean clothes, shaves his face, and starts the boat towards the horizon. Maxim, who is on his way to the lake, finds Pauline's lifeless body floating there. He tries to revive her, but she is gone. Maxim searches for his brother, but both the boat and Peter are missing. Maxim thinks that the villagers have harmed Pauline and Peter. He drives straight to Natalia's house and confronts the old man. According to Maxim, the old man owned the factory. When it was ordered to close, he had to dump the waste somewhere, so he dumped it in the lake. This made the lake, and the fish in it, toxic for the people. When the hanging out on the boat and fishing for the crawfish, they started acting weird. Fearing his actions would be found, he released toxic gas from the boat, which ended the kids. Then, to cover it up, he made up a story of the lake being cursed. Realizing that she has been betrayed, Natalia ends the old man's life. Maxim drives around to look for Peter and finds him near the dam. Peter wants to blow up the dam to reach the horizon. Maxim tells him that he found Pauline's body. Peter smiles and says that it wasn't the real Pauline, but a witch. Maxim realizes that Peter was the one responsible for Pauline's demise. He regrets releasing Peter from rehab. Maxim begs his brother to go home with him, as he is the only one loved one he has left. Peter hugs his brother and then throws him in the water. He blows the explosives up, and along with the dam, he perishes. Maxim swims out of the water somehow. He sits for a while and takes out Pauline's happiness bracelet, which he still has on him. He sees a vision of Pauline saying goodbye to him. The movie comes to an end as Maxim apologizes for not loving her enough when she was alive.